We're now going to show some footage of the Fordo nuclear site as well. And as we do, Tom, what's your sense of the situation? Do you believe the U.S. plans have to do with the Fordo site? As it's widely believed, Israel cannot hit the deep underground facility that we can see right now on the screen without U.S.'s 13.6-ton heavy bunker buster bomb that can be deployed again only by a US B-2 stealth bomber that we are also seeing right now on the screen.
Yes, so there are three main nuclear sites in Iran. Israel has been hitting two of them, but this one, Fordo, is buried underneath a mountain. It's not just a bit under the mountain, it's very under the mountain. And no other military in the world, other than the United States, has a plane which can carry a bomb which is heavy enough to attempt to penetrate the nuclear site inside the mountain. And even with the American bomb, apparently they may have to drop it more than once because it's so well fortified in the mountain in Fordo. And in fact, one of the reasons that everybody, including myself, is sure that this is a nuclear weapons program by Iran, not a civil nuclear energy program, is why on earth would any country building a civil nuclear energy program, as Iran claims, spend billions and billions of dollars building the most fortified underground facility like that hardly any weapon in the world could touch. Now, we discussed before whether Trump has made up his mind or not. It's true that he hasn't made up his mind, but I think he's made up his mind that he doesn't want Iran to develop a nuclear weapon. So what he wants, clearly, is for the Ayatollah and the Iranian authorities to come back to the negotiation table and to agree to a complete dismantlement of their nuclear program, not some time-wasting negotiations of the kind we've seen on and off for really 20 years. The only thing that will be a deal from Trump's point of view is to once and for all have enriched uranium removed from Iranian territory. If there's such a deal on the table, I don't believe America will deploy military force against Fordo. But short of that, I think they will, the US. I think Trump has decided to act because it's not a United States national interest or anybody's really in the whole world's international interest to let Iran go nuclear and spark off a nuclear arms race in a very volatile area of the world, the Middle East. So the only military that can penetrate Fordo from the air is the United States. There has been talk of some kind of ground operation by Israel or someone else, but I think short of a full-scale invasion, that would be almost impossible. It can only be either hit from the air by this bomber, or the Iranian government can voluntarily decide to dismantle Fordo as part of some agreement with the United States, but I'm very doubtful the Iranian government will agree, and therefore I think we do have a big chance that America will hit Fordo, yes.
Back to his remarks from yesterday, Trump scoffed at Putin's proposal to help mediate a ceasefire, effectively telling him to look at his own yard. Russians then warned the U.S. not to get involved militarily. Tom, where does the Israeli-Iranian conflict and possible U.S. involvement leave Russia when it comes to its footing in the Middle East? Obviously, they've lost their longtime ally in Syria half a year ago.
Yes, that's correct. The loss of the Assad regime, dictatorship in Syria, is a major blow to Russian interests in the Middle East. I think that Putin is so bogged down in Ukraine that I do not think he will exert effort to come and rescue his Iranian allies. And, they've also seen just how effective the Israeli Air Force is. Some commentators have noted that Israel, which now has complete control over the skies over Iran, which is a massive country, that Israel has succeeded in 3 days what Russia hasn't managed in 2.5 years. So I cannot imagine Russia really getting involved. In fact, they didn't provide the Iranians with I think it's the S-300s and S-400 missile defenses, which would have made it harder for Israel to hit various sites in Iran. I do not think, Putin can be saying what he wants, but I don't think he's a serious player. And I have to go further. I can't think of a single government in the world that really wants Iran to have nuclear weapons. And I think deep down, whatever anyone else is saying, they know that the only way to stop Iran getting nuclear weapons, this regime getting nuclear weapons, I should say, is military action. Everything else has been tried, sanctions, computer viruses, threats, this, that, and the other. And it is a determination of the regime in Tehran to get nuclear weapons because it's also about regime preservation. Today, no one would dream of attacking North Korea because the regime in North Korea has nuclear weapons. No, it's untouchable. And the Iranian regime know, too, that they will be untouchable. That's one of several reasons why they want nuclear weapons. And certainly for Israel, which is, at the forefront of the wrath of the regime in Iran, it is an existential threat, and that's why Israel's taking action. But I don't think any other country, even someone like President Macron in France or Putin or others calling for Israel to stand down or for peace talks or whatever, deep down, I do not believe anybody wants Iran to go nuclear. And just want to answer Ivani's point. Yes, there's opposition in America against American involvement, but it very much depends what kind of involvement. No one wants, or very few people want, America to get dragged into another war in the Middle East or anywhere else. And they certainly don't want major American involvement. But if it's a one-time strike on Fordo, which will only last a lot of minutes, and it will be finished before anyone can criticize it, I don't think there'll be much criticism within the United States, nor do I think Iran is really in a strong position now because Israel has been bashing its ballistic missiles and missile launchers. I don't think Iran is in a strong position to hit American bases elsewhere in the region. So I think it's a bit of a paper threat from the regime there.
Tom, what are your thoughts on other groups and factions joining in if the U.S. indeed joins Israeli strikes? We've heard U.S.'s envoy for Syria today in Beirut discouraging Hezbollah from intervening, saying it would be a very bad decision.
Well, one of the reasons Israel did act now and is able to act now is the proxy militias that Iran set up around Israel, most notably Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza, are greatly weakened from the last year and a half of war. So Hezbollah are hardly in a position to do very much on behalf of Iran, even if they wanted to. Likewise, Hamas is fighting a war for its own survival in Gaza. It's not in much of a position. That leaves the Houthis, the allied militia for Iran in Yemen, and various militia in Iraq. Now, the Houthis have already been firing lots of missiles at Israel. It's problematic, but, they've got missile defense in Israel, and they've also got American missile defense to protect, for example, Saudi Arabia. In Iraq, I'm not an expert on Iraq, but I don't believe the militia in Iraq are so strong. Iran is in a much weaker position than it was than a couple of years ago. It really has very few allies and friends left. And even its militia, I can't see really helping it. So as Ivani or other guests said, I think the real questions and divisions in the United States would come afterwards, after the Iranian nuclear program has been dismantled. Israel may then stop its actions because Israeli aims are pretty much limited to removing the nuclear threat and also the ballistic missile threat. Of course, the vast majority of Israelis, as I think most people in the world, will prefer a better, more democratic government in Iran that will give rights to women and etc. But it's not Israel's place, and I don't think anyone in Israel thinks it is, to try and to participate in any way with some kind of change of government in Iran. I don't think the United States thinks it is either its place, but events can, have a funny way of evolving themselves, and it is conceivable that America will somehow be dragged in to some kind of internal power struggle that emerges in Iran following the weakening of the regime once the nuclear weapons program has been removed or very badly damaged.
And Tom, finally, I would like to hear your thoughts on the Geneva meeting as well.
Well, look, Trump said the only deal he'll agree to is one of what he calls complete surrender. And, unlike, I don't know, Barack Obama or some previous presidents who wanted to do everything to avoid conflict with Iran and to the point of appeasing Iran, I don't think that Trump wants to be the president that ultimately lets Iran go nuclear. Without bombing or removing or dismantling Fordo, the nuclear program is still intact. I think possibly after America's bombed Fordo, they will offer some ceasefire agreement, and possibly the Iranian government will agree to it to preserve itself before getting further damaged. But I cannot see, diplomacy, also, I think it's like play acting. I'll say it again. I don't think any European government, the ones meeting the Iranian foreign minister in Geneva, really wants to allow an embittered, bitter, radical Islamic government in Iran to maintain its nuclear weapons program. And the time, for 20 years, the Iranian negotiators have been playing games and so on, and doing everything not to stop their nuclear program. So I think the diplomacy is because that's what diplomats do. I think it's just a sort of a bit of a charade, a bit of theatre.